Oh, who are these two little Christmas angels? Paxton and Summer. Welcome to Christmas Story Time with Papa Joe. Today we're going to read The Christmas Snowman by Marjorie Kyler. The cuckoo clock says it's time to read the Christmas story. The Christmas Snowman, a story by Marjorie Kyler. It was only 2 weeks until Christmas. They were baking cookies, they were busy making a stand for a fir tree they had chopped down near the pond. Summer and Paxton were busy wrapping presents, but they were tired of being inside. It had been snowing for 3 days, and now the sun was out. "Let's make a snowman," said Summer. "A big one," said Paxton. "Big, like Santa." Paxton and Summer bundled up in their warmest clothes and ran to the field next to the barn. First, Summer made the bottom. Then she rolled a snowball around the field until it was as big as a boulder. Then Paxton made the middle. He rolled his snowball until it was the size of a huge pumpkin. Next, they rolled a ball for the head. It was the size of a soccer ball. "Now he needs a face," said Paxton. They fetched 2 pieces of charcoal for the snowman's eyes, a carrot for his nose, and radishes for his mouth. They patted and shaped more snow into arms and legs. They dressed him in mittens and a raccoon hat they found in the barn. Then Summer took off her scarf and wrapped it around his neck. "What should we name our snowman?" said Paxton. "Let's call him Mr. Snow," said Summer. For the next few days, Mr. Snow stood cold and white in the middle of the field, while Summer and Paxton played. They lay on their backs and made angels as they looked up at the lacy pine branches above them. They built snow forts as high as the window in the maple sugar shed. They went sledding on Bucket Hill, falling into a heap after flying across the bridge. They crisscrossed the field on their skis, making circles and squares. One day they went skating. The blades of their skates clicked on the cold afternoon air as they zigzagged across the ice. As always, Mr. Snow stood like a friendly statue as everyone played nearby. A week before Christmas, the moon was full. As the moonlight fell on Summer's face, she woke up. She ran over to the window and looked out. Could it be? Mr. Snow was glowing like the angel on top of a Christmas tree, and he was moving his arms up and down stiffly like a puppet. She ran into Paxton's room. "Wake up!" she cried. "Wake up!" "What's wrong?" said Paxton. "It's Mr. Snow. Come and see." Together, they knelt at Kevin's window and gazed out at the white world beyond. Now Mr. Snow was lying down, sliding his arms and legs back and forth through the snow. He was making an angel. His mouth was turned up at the corners in a broad, radish smile. Summer gasped as Mr. Snow got to his knees. He began packing snow into blocks to make a snow fort. The walls grew so high that soon Summer could see only his raccoon hat over the top. Then Mr. Snow punched out a door and stepped through. Next he walked to the barn and disappeared inside. "Do you think he'll come back?" asked Summer. "I don't know," whispered Paxton. But he did. He reappeared carrying the sled. He climbed to the top of Bucket Hill. Then he flopped down on his belly and flew down the slope and across the bridge. After sledding on the hill a few times, Mr. Snow walked back to the barn. This time he came out carrying skis, poles, boots, and skates. First he went to the pond. He whirled around the ice, the blades of his skates shimmering in the moonlight. "Do you think he's whistling?" asked Paxton. "Maybe," said Summer, "or maybe he's just humming Christmas carols to himself." Finally, Mr. Snow put on boots and skis. Like a pale shadow, he glided across the field. "Are we dreaming?" asked Paxton. "No," said Summer. "I always knew Mr. Snow was special." "Still, we'd better go to sleep," said Paxton. "Mr. Snow wouldn't like it if he knew we were watching." Summer yawned. "I guess you're right," she said as she walked back to her room. In the morning, Paxton and Summer ran outdoors to see Mr. Snow. He was as cold and white as the day they had made him. His snow fort had vanished. "Maybe we really did dream he was alive," said Summer. "Or maybe he's only alive at night," said Paxton. "He could have knocked down the fort before becoming a snowman again." "Maybe," said Summer, but she looked doubtful. That afternoon, the weather changed. "It's like spring out," and they all went to the barn to milk the cows. The snow came on the street. The snow on the trees started to drip. The sun continued to beat down on the field for the next few days, turning the snow to slush and leaving puddles on top of the pond. By Christmas Eve, Mr. Snow's head had become no bigger than a melon. His body had shrunk the size of a small child. "Mr. Snow's disappearing," said Summer. "We've got to do something." "Let's hope there's snow tonight," said Paxton, "so we can build him up again. It almost always snows on Christmas Eve." But at bedtime, the weather was still warm. Summer and Paxton sat on the floor of the living room, listening to a story. Even though it was too warm a fire, they had one in the fireplace anyway. It was crackling. When the story was done, they closed the book and said, "Time for bed. Santa will come only if you're asleep." "I want to leave Santa some milk and cookies," said Paxton. He set them down carefully by the fireplace. Then he and Summer kissed and good night. Before they went to bed, they knelt by Summer's window and looked out at the field. "Poor Mr. Snow," said Summer. "He's dying. Isn't there anything we can do?" "Not unless it snows," said Paxton sadly. "I have an idea," said Summer. She ran to the desk and got a marker and a piece of paper, and she wrote a note. "Dear Santa, please take Mr. Snow to the North Pole with you." "Do you think Santa can read?" asked Paxton. "Of course," said Summer. "He reads letters from kids, doesn't he?" Summer and Paxton left the note by Santa's snack. Then they went to bed. The next morning, Summer woke up as the sun was rising. Instead of running downstairs to see all the presents, she looked out the window. She saw a wet mark where Mr. Snow had been. "Santa took him!" Summer gasped, racing to Paxton's room. "Santa took Mr. Snow!" Paxton was already at his window. "Or else he just melted completely," said Paxton. "It's still warm out, and the field is really muddy. He could have melted." But when Summer and Paxton went to look for the note and the milk and cookies, they were gone. "You see," Summer told Paxton, "Santa did find the note and did take Mr. Snow to the North Pole." But Paxton wasn't so sure. He sat thinking as he ate his pancakes. Time for stockings. The stockings were hanging from the mantel. For a moment, Summer and Paxton forgot about Mr. Snow. Kevin discovered chocolates and toy soldiers and marbles in his stocking. Summer found gumdrops, a beaded necklace, and some hair ribbons, but when she reached down to the toe, she felt a soft lump. Curled up like a kitten was her scarf, the one she'd wrapped around Mr. Snow's neck. "Look," she cried, "my scarf. Santa left it before rescuing Mr. Snow." "And here's Mr. Snow's mittens," shouted Paxton. "Now we know Mr. Snow is all right." And it was true. Mr. Snow had found a wonderful new home up in the North Pole where he can play with the elves all year round. The end. Thanks, Paxton and Summer. More stories to come. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Christmas time, and Papa loves you.